Do you like wrestling? Do you ever watch wrestling?
No. Nope.
And The Rock said, whoa, 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 because I'm still standing here.
What's up, gang? Welcome to Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman, the podcast that breaks down the biggest stories in and out of the ring. I am your host. My name is Mike Wellman. Welcome to the show. Thank you for hitting that play button. We appreciate you here, as always. This is episode 76 of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. If you can believe it, shout out to the OGs and the Watch Wrestling gang. We got a lot to get to on this episode. We're going to talk about Mercedes Mone making her AEW debut in Boston. We're also going to talk about that rock concert in Memphis. And the WrestleMania card is shaping up. And then we're going to do a little post show before we hang up the headphones for the day. We are heading to the Indie Net. Got some indie wrestling stuff for you. Some hot indie wrestling topics to get to on the post show for our patrons. So that's what we got lined up on this episode. We got a lot to get to. And joining me, as always, the man, the myth, the wrestling podcast franchise, wrestling fan Kris, a.k.a. the notorious KRS. What's up, Kris?
What is up, Mike? Just call me Shane Douglas in 1994 because I am here to ignite the new flame of the sport of professional wrestling podcasts.
That's right. We are here to start our new podcast era. Actually, I think that's a Jay White thing. I think Shane Douglas said something about a new era in 1994.
I think he did.
He was starting a new era. And we are starting a new era. A new podcast era. So, like I said, we got a lot to get to. We're going to talk about Mercedes Mone, The Rock, and the WrestleMania card. Plenty of wrestling goodness to get to on this episode. But you already know, before we go any farther, that's right. We need you to be kind, like, subscribe, and share. Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. Facebook, you already know. What's up, Facebook family? We see you, Facebook followers and Facebook cousins. Watch Wrestling Podcast on Instagram. I just posted up a picture insulting wrestling fan Kris on Instagram. You do not want to miss it. And on X, at WWrestlingPod, you do not want to miss these fire tweets. Are they still called fire tweets? I don't know. But at WWrestlingPod, guys, I am posting my little fingers off over here. You do not want to miss these social media posts. Get at us. Let us know. And you already know. Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. Like, subscribe, share. Find the podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Patreon. If you're inclined, check out the Patreon. Patreon.com/watchwrestling. And we look forward to having zero problems, big fella. Isn't that right, Kris?
As always, that's correct.
All right, so let's get into some wrestling stuff here. All right, so this past week on Dynamite, AEW was in Boston. This was actually a pretty big show, Paul White. I didn't see Paul White, but it was big business in Boston. And right off the bat, starting the show, we got the debut of the CEO, Mercedes Mone, coming out, getting the hometown welcome from her people in Boston. And Mercedes comes out, grand entrance. She talked about beginning her dream in North Andover, Massachusetts. I bet you anybody who heard that phrase could not find North Andover, Massachusetts on a map. It's pretty far north, folks. It's up there.
Yeah.
But yes, starting her wrestling journey at Chaotic Wrestling in North Andover. she told the crowd that she was very inspiring. She wanted the crowd to know that if she can do it, then they can too. I felt that. Thank you, Mercedes. So she thanked the fans for sticking with her these past 2 years. She talked about all of her history-making moments, which I thought was a nice touch. And then we got down to business. She said she needs to be in AEW because AEW is the only place where the revolution can be global. Okay. She said she can't wait to tear it up with every single woman in the AEW locker room. And she introduced the main event for AEW Big Business, which was Willow Nightingale versus Rio, headlining at the TD Garden. So that was Mercedes' promo, her debut. And then she came back out at the end of the show. So at the end of Dynamite, we had Willow and Riho main eventing, like I said, headlining at the Garden. So Willow wins the match, the lights go out, and Julia Hart is ringside at the bottom of the ramp. In the ring, Sky Blue comes in and attacks Willow from behind. And out comes, you guessed it, the CEO, Mercedes Mone. She fights off Sky Blue, and she hits Julia Hart with a Mone Maker, I believe is what it's called.
I think so.
Her like spinning razor's edge bomb move.
It's a good name. I hope it's called that.
The spinning razor's edge bomb move. So, Julia Hart and the TBS title might be first for Mercedes here in AEW. But overall, what did you think of Mercedes' debut in AEW, the long-awaited debut?
Pretty huge. I mean, she comes off like a star like she always does. I kind of like the touch. Maybe we'll get into this a little bit more, but I do like the touch of Tony Khan having like these superstars like debut in their hometowns, so it's even better. So there's a real big time feel to it because everybody's so excited, and she's also great. And starting off with the TBS title, I think is awesome because I think if she wins this, she can just defend that all the time, be the TBS champion. You see Tony Storm doing great work as the AEW Women's Champion, and that's pretty awesome, actually. Every week getting those two, I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, she debuts in Boston. I think there was a lot of chatter online about whether or not they should have officially advertised Mercedes. I mean, it doesn't really get more obvious. They were hinting at it to the maximum degree, almost so much so that you might as well have just advertised Mercedes. And I think that when Mercedes tweeted out or put on her Instagram, whatever it was, the post that she's in Boston, I think they moved a lot more tickets, almost as if that was the confirmation certain people needed to buy the tickets. But then as far as on television, we don't get into too much ratings here. Can we break down the biggest stories in and out of the ring? Ratings don't really happen in the ring, except the 5-star ratings that we get. But so the ratings didn't really move up with the TV ratings with Mercedes on the show. They didn't really bring in any more viewers than a very good episode of Dynamite would. So I think they could have advertised her officially. This is the second time they've done this, right? Where they did the first dance with CM Punk, most obvious debut ever in Chicago. Yeah. Darby Allin says something about the best in the world. It's like obvious. We're getting Punk. They're literally chanting CM Punk. And same thing goes with Mercedes here. I mean, she pulls up in a Mercedes at the beginning of the show. But I think that they could have advertised Mercedes officially. Would it have taken a little bit away from that debut? Maybe, but they did so much to let you know that, like, Mercedes is going to be here, that it was already the expectation. So I'm not sure how you could have blown it, if you're already pretty much announcing it.
So, I mean, I think for TV ratings, I think you have to announce it ahead of time. Ticket sales, I think they're fine. Like you said, after she tweeted Boston, the ticket sales went up a little bit. And I think you can get people to buy tickets to shows if you think someone's going to debut. But for people to tune into the TV, especially when they can just watch it later or tomorrow or the next day on their DVR, like maybe do it ahead of time so they can come in. And I don't know if maybe people want to see like an advertised match. Maybe if she was advertised to wrestle, or if she during the beginning of the show said like, tonight I'm wrestling so-and-so in the main event, maybe that would bring people to watch. But do people even call their friends anymore and say, hey, are you watching Dynamite right now? Here's Sasha Banks, or here's Mercedes debuting. Watch. I don't know if that'll happen.
I'm trying to think. There was a time recently where I thought this would be a moment where I would tell people to tune in later on, but I'm trying to think what it was. I can't remember what it was, but they should do more stuff like that, where I don't expect anybody to call their friends on the phone and say, you should watch this, but there are things you can do that are almost like a surprise announcement. So, like with Mercedes, they already didn't advertise her officially, right? So she comes out in the beginning. Now, I know that you want to save some stuff for later, but the way AEW is right now, I don't know what they're saving anything for. They have the super talented roster. Mm-hmm. They could do so much. Give people some stuff. Don't save it all for the future, and then the future never comes, you know? Like, they've saved a lot of matchups, and then those guys are gone. Cody's gone. Punk is gone. We never got Punk versus Omega. We never got Punk versus, or Cody versus Omega in AEW.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So it's like they save things, and it's like you could have given people something big. So what you could have done is Mercedes comes out, gets the heroes welcome, thanks the fans, thanks for sticking with us, follow your dreams, blah, blah, blah. Then you could have gone two ways. You could have said, and I am here, and I am not going to waste any time. I am here to prove myself tonight in Boston in the main event. And like that would have been a moment where you could say, you could tweet, Mercedes is wrestling tonight, right? Because then it's not just a surprise match. Then the match is announced, but it's a short term. It's like tune in, in the main event like an hour from now. The other thing they could have done was a little bit of heat ski here could have been had, I think. Give Mercedes the moment. Don't rob her of it. But then, right? And they could have done this in the beginning. Somebody interrupts her, another debut, a big return. I mean, I don't know what the status is, but just on paper, if you have all of the pieces on the board, I think the perfect thing to do would have been to interrupt Mercedes' debut with a returning Britt Baker.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't, even if they didn't get physical and fight, I'm not sure the status of like Britt Baker as far as injury goes. I'm not sure the status of Mercedes for that matter. She told Renee she's healthy, but for one, Britt Baker already has decent amount of heat with the fans. This would have been a way to turn that up to 11, make people hate Britt Baker for all the right reasons, and just get some heat on anything with a feud with Mercedes as well, rather than say, I'm here to take on everybody. Okay, I mean, that's great and all, but man, starting off a feud super hot like that, going right into a feud with Britt Baker, or something, maybe, I mean, it could have been somebody else in a similar vein, Saraya, you know what I mean? Saraya and Mercedes, Would have
been great, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just something where someone's coming out to say, like, I am here to stop you from all these things you just said you want to accomplish. Like I said, at the end of the night, she came back out to save the day. It was fine. And it shows you where they're going. But I am not the biggest fan of Mercedes taking the long road to essentially the women's championship, right? If there's something going on where she needs to, if she wants to have a couple of sort of warm-up matches, I understand that, but I don't need to see Mercedes beat everybody on the roster and then challenge for the AEW women's title, right?
Yes.
Like when CM Punk came into AEW, I blinked my eyes and that fool was the champion twice.
That's correct. Yes.
I mean, how many times wasn't he like a three-time champion? I mean, he got injured a couple times as well, but I just mean they put the belt on him and it was obvious that they were going to do it and it still worked. With Mercedes, granted, you have a few matches. I like the idea of Serena Deeb being her return match. I think Serena Deeb said something about that in a promo. And, that would have been great. Julia Hart, I mean, I think the match is going to be great if she has a match with Julia Hart. It's just, like you were saying, not a lot to call your friends about, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get into a whole like Tony Khan booking thing. I don't like to talk about that kind of stuff. Whatever, I'm having fun. But I mean, I think one of the things that he's not great at is getting new fans. Like he books for the fans they already have, and these are all shows for fans they already have. There's not a lot of stuff that makes people go, I'm going to go over there and watch it. And I'm not saying you have to convert WWE fans. You can like both. But it's just like, I don't know if he does enough or has the capability of, or to have people just jump over. And that's my biggest problem.
Well, AEW is in kind of a weird spot right now, okay? Because they have probably the best roster they've ever had, one of the best rosters ever in wrestling. To me, this is as good as it gets. Who else can you get, right? You have Okada, Mercedes, Ospreay, Danielson, Copeland, Christian, Moxley, Takeshita, Ibushi, Pac, Samoa Joe, Swerve, Hangman, Tony Storm, the Young Bucks, and so many more of the best wrestlers in the world. You don't need any more of the best wrestlers in the world. You have them, right? But they just can't get past a certain point with an audience, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there's more to it than just the black and white argument online of there's no stories. There is stories, because sometimes there are stories and sometimes there aren't. And that's both okay. I liked Vikingo versus Kenny Omega, and I also liked the entire saga of Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. They can both exist. You can have weekly matches that aren't necessarily advertised. So I just think it's more than that. I don't think it's one way or the other, stories or no stories. But I do think that they can promote these shows better. And it's more than just announcing these matches, because sometimes when they announce matches ahead of time, they're kind of head-scratching matchups that make me say, no offense to the people in this match, they're great wrestlers, but are they going to draw more eyeballs? Like, is a Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay announced in advance going to bring in new viewers? Don't get me wrong, I watched that match, and as these guys are walking out, I said, holy crap, I bet you this match is going to be incredible. But it was because I wasn't expecting it, because I wasn't necessarily thinking about the amazing main event we have on deck. You know, like advertising, no offense, but like Angelo Parker matches in advance, like this is not what we need. You know what I mean? And there is that absence of heat as well, like I was trying to get at with the Mercedes thing, where like the one criticism I do kind of agree with that I see online is that the bad guys in AEW, they still want to be liked. And this is just a problem with wrestling in general. You can't really be a heel, right? Because people are going to try to either cancel you or they're going to hate you, and you're not going to like that. So there's this whole thing. But there's a element of heat here that's missing with AEW. Like you kind of expect a certain thing, and even when they exceed expectations, like the Sting retirement, all these great pay-per-views that they've had, All In last year, they have all these gigantic moments. But just week to week, I don't even know what I would say that WWE is doing differently, short of obviously the presence of The Rock. But I don't know what they can do, but I do know they can advertise these shows and promote these shows better, right? So there are times when AEW features wrestlers, a certain matchup that, like, if you don't know the backstory from the indies or from the internet, it doesn't really land with more people. And then some of us will know, but then some of us are just asking, who are these guys? And then those two groups start fighting. Like, did you see Ice Cube's son said something on Chris Van Vliet's show about, like, if I say I don't know this guy, don't tell me I'm not a wrestling fan. You know?
Yeah. Oh man, he's fun on like Twitter and stuff, man. He really likes wrestling and he really gets into it.
Yeah.
With people.
Yeah. So it's like, I get that, and that's like part of it. Like, they do show you guys that you don't know sometimes, and I think AEW need like a Tuesday Night Titans type show where guys can come on and almost fight on like a TV set, and you can kind of just get to know people. Like, they do all these great backstage promos, but most of them just end up on the internet or on like Rampage, And I just think that they need a little bit more character development, a little bit more something here. And so with the Mercedes not bringing in any extra viewers, I actually do think she will in the future. I do think it will build over time.
Yes.
So I don't think that it's going to be a dud at all by any means.
Yeah, I think advertising her match, like a high profile match that people want to see with her against, like you said, Britt Baker maybe, or eventually Tony Storm, or whoever, Deonna Purrazzo, whoever that you want to see, that will bring people in because I'll be interested in those matches, and I would definitely be like, oh, I'm gonna definitely check that out. So I think that will happen, but you just gotta do it a little advance. They make me care a little bit.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't necessarily think that taking the slow road to the title is the right choice. I would have gone with a few warm-up matches, and you put that belt on Mercedes. Why not?
I mean, that's probably. I mean, the TBS championship is going to be hers, right? Quickly. That's what it seems like.
But how do you pivot? How do you quickly pivot from one title to another without devaluing? Like, so she wins the TBS title. What is she going to do?
You're
Defend
right.
it for 6 months? I mean, people are going to want to see her. I mean, the matchup I want to see in AEW right now is Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm.
Me too. I do want to see that.
I just don't. To me, it's everything Toni Storm does, and Mercedes is the biggest woman star right now outside of WWE and wrestling. Right? I would say maybe the biggest woman's star right now is either Becky or Rhea, probably. Right?
Yeah.
And Mercedes is the top free agent in wrestling, or she was. And now she's in AEW, so I want to see the top against the top. So Mercedes against the best you've got, right?
Yeah. And I mean, you actually make a good point too. A couple of good points in there. You're right, because there's no real path to, even if she is a TBS champion and dominates and makes the title feel important, just like Gunther has for the Intercontinental title. When she goes up against Toni Storm, because that's what we're all going to want, what is she going to just like give up the TBS title because you can't be a double champion like the Warrior did with? Like when he beat Hogan, like that doesn't make any sense. So you're right. She should go after the Toni Storm. Toni Storm does not need to be the champion to be amazing. Timeless is timeless forever. You don't need to be the champ.
Right. And actually, you bring up a good point. She could do the Warrior thing. She could do both belts. That could be something where she maybe wins both, and eventually, gets rid of the TBS title. But you get that image of her, dominating both titles. That could happen. Thank you, Chris.
Here I have a pencil, not a pen yet. We're here.
This is why this is like one of my backup writers. His name's Chris. He's a wrestling continuity coordinator, whatever those job postings say.
Oh, anyway, that'd be great. Yeah.
So I did like Mercedes' debut. I thought it left a little to be desired, but I do think we're only going up from here. So I'm not worried. I'm not down in any way. I just think that could have started off super hot and kind of didn't, but it's fine. But,
I mean, we already see her. I mean, if we're talking about the needle on the TV ratings, who knows? But we already see her. She sold those tickets in Boston, and the show in Toronto that's coming up. I think that's like 1,000 tickets sold or something since her debut. Like after her debut, before then they weren't sold. She debuts, boom. 1,000 tickets sell. So, I mean, you can move a needle that way.
Yeah. So tickets, that's good, right? The Toronto. And I think as more shows she gets announced, I think that's really that's the one thing that they can do, right? Is you've got Mercedes, you've got, first of all, I mean, we're talking about Mercedes, but I think Will Ospreay is going to be like, phew, once more people see him on American television.
Yeah.
But, advertising Mercedes as like this superstar, and again, I don't have the magic potion here for how to do that. It's easier for me to sit here and say that, but just I don't know how big of a star you can advertise someone as and promote them as. But that's what they need here with Mercedes.
Yes.
So presenting her as a star, Sasha Banks has this diehard fan base, and I don't believe that these Sasha stans will hate her overnight because she's in AEW. Yes, the bots online will say, oh, she's washed up. This was her greatest moment, and then they'll tweet out some WWE thing. But I think that those fans are actual fans and will follow her. I think it's just she needs to have that presence. She needs to be back on TV more for people to build up that momentum again.
I mean, yes, and I think you made a good point earlier too. I mean, when Punk came in and he shot to the title, it worked. So I get maybe they do know how to treat someone as a star if that person is actually a star, and she definitely is. So maybe it'll happen.
Yeah, again, I mean, just put that belt on Mercedes. Yes, advertise the match. To me, a big title change on Dynamite would work, and it may not also move the needle. But the one thing I don't think anybody expects is a big title change on Dynamite. So if you give them one, that could make people think in the future, okay, every title match could be a real title match, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anybody thought our buddy Wardlow was going to beat Samoa Joe at Big Business. You know what I mean?
Yes, no one did.
So, especially when they put that match on second for the AEW Championship.
Yeah, we know that too, yeah.
But yeah, so what I'm saying is imagine you book it a week in advance. Because there's also the attention span factor. You can book something a month in advance. Once people are moved on from it mentally, you can't get them back. So you give it to people next week on Dynamite, Mercedes versus Tony Storm. I mean, I'm only saying this because a one night thing wouldn't really increase ratings. But
yeah.
Because and you know, if you say like this Saturday on Collision, to me that is too short of a time, right? That's not enough time for people to grasp it. So then you say next week on Dynamite, we got whatever week you decide to do this. Mercedes, Tony Storm. Mercedes wins, beats Tony Storm. You know what I mean? That would be a big Dynamite to me.
Yes,
you don't have to save everything for the pay-per-view here.
Especially when you have the roster that you just ran down. You know, you almost can't save everything for the pay-per-view. So
because the pay-per-views are already, generally speaking, very highly rated. Like they've had a couple misses, but overall, these pay-per-views are some of the best pay-per-views really in wrestling history. AEW shows, right? Oh yeah. So, but this is the thing. It's hot and cold and the episodes of Dynamite aren't even bad. It's just the ratings, you know. So I think you hit on a point there about Tony Khan booking to the current fans and not necessarily trying to get any new fans.
Which is hard, and I'm not saying it's easy, but yeah, you gotta try. He's the one who has the company, not me. That's all I'm saying.
He's the one who has the company. I'm the one who has the pen. No, just kidding. Actually, I don't even have my clicky pen. All I have is this pen. Yeah. So we got ideas, Tony. WatchWrestlingPod@gmail.com. Hit us up.
I'll take you could pay me less than any writer you have.
I'm not gonna say whose paycheck I'll take, but there's some Ring of Honor people that I feel like I could get paid more than. So we're just cutting our teeth here. That's all we're trying to do. So, yes, Mercedes is all elite. All right, I'm probably going to have to chop that segment up into a much smaller segment, spoiler. But let's move right along, Chris. Did you see on Friday night in Memphis, there was a rock concert?
Well said. I love it.
And I actually got the privilege of watching this with people over my house who were not wrestling fans. And they were doing that thing where they were casually interested because it was The Rock and because it was entertaining. So they were asking me, like, what is he doing? Because everybody knows who The Rock is, but not everybody knows, like, the concept of The Rock concert, you know?
This is amazing, and I did not know this happened. I'm so happy that this happened. Wow.
So, yeah, so it was just people were intrigued by this, which is like the opposite of what happens when non-wrestling fans watch wrestling, right?
Oh, yeah.
So The Rock has taken over WWE television at this point. I don't hate it, I will say.
Absolutely not.
So we're getting these promos on Instagram, which every week I watch these promos on Instagram, and these are all-time great wrestling promos. Did you see the one last week where he was in like the cowboy arena? The bull riding? He's wearing the cowboy hat. This fucking guy, man. He's wearing a cowboy hat and he's walking around the arena and he's doing the if you smell what The Rock is cooking with no microphone on Instagram in an arena. I mean, he's out here trying for sure. And I don't know who else in wrestling can put out a 10, 15, 20, 24-minute Instagram video. And the whole time, you're just watching it like, okay, keep going, you know?
Yes.
It was incredible. And the promo this week from the gym, where he's in the gym and he's got his weight belt, and now we're getting serious. Now we're getting closer to WrestleMania. We got to get to the meat here, right? We got to get to the serious business, and we got to get to family members getting involved, right? If we want to take this thing to that next level, and the next level beyond that, no, the family is involved, the family members, and not just the bloodline. Cody's family, right? So last week, on SmackDown. Cody and Seth, they go there. Seth Rollins, I thought, did a good job telling The Rock that you had your time, you can't have ours. Very good.
Yes.
Now, when you're trying to share the spotlight with the Rock, the biggest celebrity in the world, obviously he's going to take all the spotlight. But Seth Rollins can still get his shit in like he did, right? I don't think anybody is looking bad here except one man, Roman Reigns. That promo, when they were doing the tag team promo, there was a weak link in that chain, unfortunately, and it was the big dog. He was back for one night.
Yes.
I'm sorry to say it, but I got to call it out. But Seth doing a good job. Cody slaps The Rock. Let's do this. Let's go. Cody versus The Rock. Let's finish the story. Then Cody follows that up on Raw with a sit down. And he's crying, talking about his mom and his dad. And just like The Rock said in his promo, I couldn't give it to my daddy, so I'm going to give it to my mommy. Da, da, da. Perfect. The Rock has not lost 1% of the ability he had to just riff for 7, 8, 10 minutes on end. Do you remember that promo he cut coming out of the locker room against Jonathan Coachman? And he's talking about Billy Gunn. My name is Badass Billy. Shut up. Shut your mouth. Da, da, da. All this. Yes. Like, all of these, the most famous and the promos from The Rock that stuck with you for a generation are these moments where he's just riffing off the top of his head. And I know that it's all scripted, but you know what I mean? He makes it sound like he's just talking.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what he was doing on Instagram. And then he comes out on Friday Night SmackDown, and we got a Rock concert and then a Rock promo. So the Rock concert was nice. He had a little backup, some musicians there, right? Playing harmonica, playing guitar. So we get a song from The Rock about what he's going to do to Seth Rollins and Cody at WrestleMania. He mentions Cody's mom, who, like I said, Cody mentioned in his impassioned promo from last week's Raw, where he talked about not being able to hand the belt to Dusty Rhodes, but he can hand it to his mother. And he cried.
I mean, The Rock is really cool, and I don't think that Cody doesn't come off. He could come off like a oh, shut up, Cody, and whiny, but he really doesn't. The Cody does a great job of I don't think that was acting per se. He probably was very emotional, but it was very well done by Cody.
Well, what we have is we've got these two pillars of old school wrestling, right? Drawing people in via real life, heartfelt emotion, right? And then, which I'll get to in a second more of, drawing people in with the prospect of pure brutality, right? Mm-hmm. So we've got Cody on the one hand, the white meat baby face, which there's got to be a better term for this, because you say this to someone on the street, a white meat baby face, and they're going to be like, you are under arrest, sir.
Yes.
Like, no one's, they're going to go, what the hell are you talking about? So you've got Cody, like I said, the raw emotion of the good guy, and all of the family and the emotion and the people who are with us and the people who are not with us and the tears, right? I mean, red equals green, but tears also equal green, right?
Oh, yeah.
And especially when you have that backstory, like there's like no one has the backstory that Cody does right now. And this finished the story. Yes, they've botched it at a few different points, but there is no more. Like, this is, I mean, there's this. You go back to Kofi Mania. You go back to Daniel Bryan. Going back farther than that, I mean, you're like going back to maybe Stone Cold, Bret Hart. You got to go back to really find a guy that you wanted to get behind, right?
Yeah.
More than Cody right now. The hype train behind Cody is 50 cars long right now.
Hell yeah.
So, like I said, we're stacking the chips here on both sides. We've got the good guy crying about it, and the bad guy, well, first he's making fun of him for crying, right? Because you got to do that first.
That's The Rock, yeah.
So The Rock thoroughly roasted Cody here. He brought up Stardust. Nothing is off limits, folks. Not even Stardust. He called Cody a mistake. This is like the third time he's called Cody a mistake, right? Talking about how Cody's 20 years younger than his siblings. Meanwhile, The Rock's got kids that are like 20 years apart.
Yes, that's classic heel work. I love that.
He said Becky was more popular than Seth.
Love it.
And he said that he was going to make Seth's World Heavyweight title disappear again. So now we're leaning into the whole backstage drama. We're going to take the belt off of you, right? Which, guys, it's happening. Drew's winning. But anyway,
yes,
he's going to make that World Heavyweight title disappear, right? He also brought up John Morant carrying a gun. And he talked about the Cody cry baby bitches, right? And they're censoring The Rock now, right? Because he's like running the show, so he's like fully involved in the backstage of everything. So weird how they know right when to hit that button.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he calls himself the final boss, which I approve of. I approve that The Rock is the final boss.
Incredible.
Because what do you do in a game? You beat the final boss. That's always been The Rock's role here, right? It's not to win. This man can't win things. He's not here to win. He's already won. Look at these Instagram promos, and he's getting half the show dedicated to whatever the hell he feels like talking about. You know?
Yeah.
SmackDown is now the Rock podcast. The Bloodline cast.
Yeah.
So, the final boss, I approve of it. The thing is that somebody's got to beat the final boss, right? So, nothing too crazy in the Rock concert. It was actually kind of a tame Rock concert. I was expecting a little more.
It was.
We then got a promo from The Rock. So this is where he got a little more serious. He talked about getting slapped by Cody. He talked about Cody crying on Raw. He then spoke directly to Cody's mother and talked about how he's going to make her son bleed. And he talked about how he's going to whip Cody with his weight belt, and there's going to be blood all over the weight belt, and he's going to give the weight belt to Cody's mom with her son's blood on it. This is where The Rock's upbringing, and this is where the Rock versus Roman is great. This is what we've wanted for years. We didn't know how much we needed Cody versus The Rock. And these two guys who have basically been championing their own cause this whole time. Cody, wrestling has more than one royal family. The Rock, shoving it down your throat, right? That he's a third-generation wrestler. I guarantee you more people know about Soul Man Rocky Johnson because of his son talking about him than let's say him being a tag team with Tony Atlas, right? So these guys, both championing the cause of their lineage in wrestling, right? It's just amazing. And The Rock's upbringing with his dad being a wrestler in the territory days is all over this stuff. These promos that he's cutting in the gym, in the Texas bull riding arena, right? He's wearing the cowboy hat. It's like, nobody can pull this off. Nobody can wear a cowboy hat like that. Like, almost no one looks legit in a cowboy hat, right? You always look like you're posing as a cowboy, no matter who you are.
Yes. Yeah.
This dude puts on a cowboy hat and walks around that goddamn arena like he's gonna go saddle up and ride a fucking bull. You know what I mean? And he does have that The Rock's life. If you read The Rock Says, he did travel a lot as a kid. That's why if you notice, everywhere he goes, he says it's his hometown, right? What's The Rock's hometown? Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Miami, Florida, the Bay Area, the whole state of Texas. Where is this guy from? Hawaii?
Memphis? Yeah.
Like Memphis, Hawaii, Maine? No, I don't think The Rock ever lived in Maine as a kid. But so he's got, he's well traveled, and the promos that he's cutting, these acts of violence that he's talking about, this is straight out of the territory days. This is straight out of like Mid-South, just talking about how bad you're going to hurt another man. Wrestling doesn't really get to this level anymore. Obviously in AEW, there's tremendous amounts of violence, but we don't get these promos like these old school territory days promos where it's just some dudes who look like you would see them at the bar talking about how they're going to beat you with a chain or something.
Yeah. Yep.
They're going to beat you beyond what's reasonable. It'd make you cringe to say, why would a man do that to another man? And then back in the territory days, you'd watch it happen. You'd watch Jerry Lawler get hit by a car. And you'd be like, what are these? You'd watch Dusty Rhodes just get his arm slammed in a car door, right? By the Four Horsemen or whatever. And you'd be like, these men are barbarians, right? And that's what The Rock is really invoking here, is this old school territory days. Like, I'm coming to this town, and I'm going to destroy you with these weapons, and I'm going to make your blood, I'm going to put your blood all over the road or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So that's really what I got out of this whole Rock, like, build, is like, he's like going around the territories. That's what it reminds me of. And also the brutality of wrestling in the 80s.
Well, that's good. I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, that really is like that. Nice.
So I think we can expect some blood at WrestleMania. The bloody
Cody,
weight belt.
Come on. Cody is juicing. It's getting all in that blonde hair. I'm ready.
So I think that, we're going to get more violence than we're accustomed to. I mean, so you got to save something for these guys. Got to wrestle the next night, right? All of them except The Rock have to wrestle the next night. How do you work that one out? But I do think we're going to get a bloody, brutal affair on night one.
I hope I think so too, and I'm looking forward to it more than I've looked forward to lots of matches in the last 10 years. So,
and then what is The Rock going to say to Cody's mother, who's ringside? He's going to say the same line that I heard Saturday night when I took my daughter to Disney on Ice in Springfield. What can I say except you're welcome? And what does the crowd chant? Maui, Maui, Maui. This guy's supposed to be a damn heel. This guy's supposed to be a goddamn heel.
I love all the work he's doing. It's some of the best stuff I've watched in years, and there's been a lot of great stuff in the last few years, but this is like top tier. But I'm concerned. Maybe it's just too because I'm used to old school WWE, but I'm concerned that this Rock is going to make everyone not want Cody to win. You know?
Well,
and that's scary.
I do think The Rock is going to hand Cody's mom a bloody weight belt. I don't know who's going to win the match. Well, I already decided, right? Last week on the show, I said who's going to win. I said who's going to take the pin in the match, and it's going to be Roman Reigns on night one, taking the pin.
I mean, it only makes sense. Roman takes. I booked in my head that Roman takes the pin night one, and something happens in the next night where The Rock doesn't necessarily turn face, but he doesn't like the way Roman did something, or he says like Roman's going to have to win on his own or something, and then Cody wins that way. That way, The Rock can still be cool, and then we get more Rock versus Roman later. And then now that you mentioned the old school territory stuff and The Rock handing Cody Mama Rhodes the bloody belt, that is going to happen, I think. And maybe there will be some like cahoots with The Rock and Cody. Maybe The Rock does kind of turn and help Cody. It's been on his side all along, because like then you would think like, how would you take that beating, Cody? The Rock beat your ass and you bloodied him and he gave it to your mom, but that's what happened with the Horseman and Sting. That's old school too.
Yeah,
it was all a ruse, you know. Even though like whatever, we fought each other, it's all fake.
You took a beating, right, to make it more believable.
Yes,
but yeah. So how can you do that? It's you make Cody the most sympathetic babyface possible by leaving him in a pool of his own blood, and he somehow finds a way to come back and win.
That's good. Yep.
I don't know who's going to be the winner there on night one, getting the pin. Because really, if you do Cody pinning Roman, it's kind of, I don't know. I've booked myself into a corner here, because you're not going to have Seth Rollins pin Roman Reigns. Although, that would just add a further wrinkle into this. That would be, like, tremendous. But yeah, overall, I think that this is an amazing build to a match that's actually not happening. Right?
It is, yeah.
Because think about it. I'm trying to keep track of what we've wanted this whole time. First thing we wanted was The Rock versus Roman Reigns. Let's do it. Give it to us. Come back, wrestle. We've been on Rock Watch for years. Right? Then we think we're getting it. Then we decide we don't want this. We want Cody. I literally tweeted out the day after SmackDown, we wanted Cody, not this. Meaning we thought we were getting The Rock versus Roman. So we wanted it. We still want it. We just don't want it right now. Okay, fine. Fair enough. Now, The Rock, the second The Rock hugged Cody and Cody slunk away, I'm like, well, I want to see The Rock and Cody now. right? Then Seth Rollins gets involved. Now I want to see The Rock versus Seth Rollins. Okay? And I'm like, yes, I'm fine with The Rock beating Seth Rollins. I'm not fine with The Rock beating Cody. I just think it makes sense that way. But this whole time, now we're not talking. The one person we're not talking about here is Roman Reigns. The person who's been, I mean, do you want to talk about a final boss? This guy's been champion for like 4 years, right?
Yeah.
So The Rock, the smart thing was acknowledging your tribal chief, because now that's out of the way. This power struggle, it's not happening, right? The Rock, he can say, Roman is the chief of the tribe, and he can still say, I am Cody's boss, I am Seth Rollins' boss. Obviously, that would also make him Roman Reigns' boss. But those two things can exist. Roman is my tribal chief. I am, the boss of this company, right?
Yes. Yep.
It doesn't need to be, I'm the boss, so I'm also the tribal chief. But The Rock's ego can build, right? And there's going to be some dissension there. Rock and Roman, they're going to be on a tag team, and it's not going to work out. They're going to have that whole, guy tags him in by slapping him on the back. Guy's pissed off. Like, what are you doing? Don't tag yourself in. That kind of dissension, right? And it could be a slight thing in the match, or it could be complete chaos in the match where it just devolves. It could come to a head in the match between The Rock and Roman, right? But I do think that night one match is going to be the catalyst of professional wrestling. No. I do think that is going to be what kicks off something with The Rock and Roman, because Rock's going to go away. He's going to do the Smashing Machine movie where he's going to be Mark Kerr. But then that's going to be done. He's going to come back. And then it's like Survivor Series, Rumble next year, something, right? Rock versus Roman. I mean, and the more I look at it, the more I think, especially if The Rock's going to have any type of movies in between here, unless he thoroughly destroys himself at this WrestleMania and decides, I can't do this anymore, I think he's coming back next year at WrestleMania as well, at this point. And each week I know this is like changing and shit, but this is what I think right now. Rock Roman next year.
Oh, man, that's fine. Hey, yeah, hopefully you can do it. And if this is what we're going to get, even like a little tiny bit of this, it doesn't have to be this extreme. Bring him back, please.
And then when it happens, I can just look into the camera and say, what can I say except you're welcome?
That's right. Thank you, Maui. Thank you.
So when I was at Disney on Ice, they had all these people, and they were dressed up as like waves. Like, the waves in the tapestry. And the tapestry here on my skin.
Sure.
The waves.
Yeah.
They had people skating around, and they were like waves.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah. Anyways. So, speaking of WrestleMania, we've got more than just The Rock and Cody to talk about at WrestleMania. Believe it or not, there's 2 nights scheduled, and we're getting pretty close to WrestleMania. So there are other matches going down at WrestleMania XL, like I said, aside from just The Rock and Cody. So this WrestleMania card is shaping up here. So let's see what we got. So we know that on night 1, the main event is The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. And we know that we have Seth versus Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes as the night 2 main event. So already we're stacking those world title matches on night 2. Right? So that's 2 matches on night 2 already. We're not spreading them out. We know that we have Io Sky defending the WWE Women's title against Bayley. And we know who's leaving with that belt. Bayley.
We do. Yes.
Rhea Ripley is defending the Women's World Championship against Becky Lynch. We don't know if it's on night 1 or night 2. These are the 4 kind of title matches, and then we have this extra bonus tag team match. These are the big world title matches that we get, right?
Yeah.
So we're headlining basically with Roman and Cody both nights, because you're not putting The Rock on anything but last, right, on night 1. And then, so the only thing we don't know is where these women's championship matches are going to fall. Part of me thinks you do them both on night 1. I don't know. The whole 2-night dynamic makes me think like you don't want to stack up night one, and then everybody comes to night two, and they're like, the good stuff was last night. Because they've had, I think it was the year before last, whichever year Stone Cold main evented, that was the best to me. And I think that was night one. So it's it's almost like a bonus where you get this night one main event, and it's kind of like the sleeper real main event, right? So you're like, okay, this is good. And then night two, it's like, it's the big main event. But I don't know where these women's matches are going to go. I would probably still break them up and put one on each night.
Yeah, I think you put Becky and Rhea night two. It doesn't really matter though. Yeah, I think you want to break them up though. Definitely break them up.
Yeah, I think you probably put Rhea night one, Rhea and Becky, and then you have Io versus Bayley night two. To me, that makes more sense.
Okay.
Then we have Gunther defending the Intercontinental Championship against Sami Zayn, not Chad Gable.
I was like, oh man, how did he flub Sami Zayn's name? I got what you were doing now. I see it.
Why is Chad Gable not in this match? Why is Chad Gable not finishing his story?
I don't know, but those promos he was doing really maybe wanted him to be the Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah, not just to be in the match. I wanted Chad Gable to win the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. Chad Gable is one of the best wrestlers in WWE.
Me too. I'm sad.
And I feel bad for Sami Zayn. I saw this thing online that he was upset that people were rejecting him. And it's like, Sami, you have to go back to watch this podcast after Elimination Chamber and see how pissed off I was that you didn't win, okay? That was your moment. I said it then. That was Sami Zayn's moment. And I also said then that he will never get that moment back because there will not be a bigger moment for Sami Zayn in Montreal, in the world title match. It was just red hot. Redder than his hair and beard.
Sorry, Sam. Sorry, Sam Zayn. Sorry. I saw someone point out that it's Otis and Akira Tozawa in the tag team turmoil thing on Raw tonight. So Chad Gable's still available as a singles. So we'll see. Maybe we'll have a Chad Gable groundswell to get him into the match.
So they picked Sami Zayn for this match. Sami Zayn won what was a very good gauntlet match on Raw a few weeks ago. Yeah. That was a very good. Who was it? Was it Ricochet and the two of these guys just had a full-on match. Was it Ricochet and Sami?
Oh, yeah. I think it was Ricochet. It definitely was Ricochet.
It was just a good match. And Ricochet was great in that match. Which, hey, why isn't Ricochet finishing his story?
I know.
No, Ricochet is good. Ricochet doesn't need to finish the story. He's doing backflips in the parking lot with his girlfriend or fiance, Samantha Irvin.
It was an amazing clip, yes. In dress shoes.
Right, yeah. First of all, credit to Ricochet for that backflip. That was a 5-star backflip.
Absolutely. With his bag, he just put it down.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
So Sami Zayn's in the match. So we're talking about all the things we want to see. We're getting Sami Zayn versus Gunther. I'm sure it's going to be a great match. I just think everybody's going to be talking about Chad Gable instead. Because this is the moment. Just like we were talking about how Sami had his moment, this was Chad Gable's moment.
Yeah, so, it was JD McDonough. I just want to clear that up. That he had the match with Ricochet.
Oh yeah. And then first of all, why isn't JD McDonough finishing the story? So
come on.
That's what I was thinking during the match. I was thinking, give me JD McDonough and Ricochet as the opening match of WrestleMania. Perfect.
Oh yeah,
perfect.
Yes.
WatchWrestlingPod@gmail.com. WWE.
That's right.
So that was a good match. That gauntlet match, if we haven't said it already.
I got to tell you, I was a little bit. I'm sorry, Sammy. I was one of the people who was a little bit disappointed that Sami Zayn won that.
I was just surprised. I was as surprised as Samantha Irvin was ringside. You saw that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised. I really thought that it was right there. It was right there. Because now, okay, I understand they're going to Germany, right? Later in the year, WWE is going to Germany. You want to have Gunther as Das Champion in Germany, right? But, so that means he's not going to lose, right? So then if you had Chad Gable in there, people would probably expect, Chad Gable's going to finish that story.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't get it. Then you'd be disappointed. Now it's more reasonable. Sami Zayn loses. He's the perpetual underdog. It's okay for him to lose. He doesn't lose anything, so to speak, if he loses against Gunther, right?
True, yeah.
Even though his chest, I'm sure, is going to be redder than his hair and beard.
Yes.
So, yeah, puzzling decision. Like I said, I feel bad for Sami Zayn, feeling bad about this. But there was no bigger champion for Sami Zayn than me back in the day.
I remember.
So I don't know what Chad Gable's going to be doing on WrestleMania here, but he's now in the mix here as far as people we want to see on the card. Which for him to come as far as he has from the Shorty G days.
Oh man, I forgot about that. Oh,
I remember wanting to turn off my TV so much because I was thinking to myself, like, am I wrong in thinking that this guy is so much better than this? Like, this guy's an Olympian. Like, what are we doing with this guy? You know?
didn't he? I don't remember I'm sorry, I don't remember who he was facing, but didn't he do a pre-show match for WrestleMania a few years ago as Shorty G? But he was awesome anyway. Like, Shorty G is stupid, but the in-ring was so good.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was. But I just remember hating the name Shorty G.
It was so bad, yeah.
More than life itself. So is it safe to say Gunther is retaining here at WrestleMania?
I mean, since they're going to Germany, probably. I thought this was the time for him to lose at WrestleMania, but then, that, and then with Sami winning, I don't think he's going to lose. No.
I mean, I think Sami Zayn would be a fine Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So then we get, as you mentioned, a 6-team ladder match for the Tag Team Championship. Damian Priest and Finn Balor will defend against 5 other teams. So that'll be good. I'm sure one of the teams will be like Otis and Tozawa.
Yeah.
Together as a team.
Yes, they are one of the teams who are going to try to qualify, I believe, on Raw tonight. So
we're also getting Logan Paul defending the United States title at WrestleMania against Kevin Owens and Randy Orton in a triple threat match. This one should be interesting. One thing I cannot wait for is whatever shenanigans occur between Randy Orton and that doofus that Logan Paul always has ringside that gives him the brass knuckles and that gives him the weapon every time.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I want Randy Orton to murder these guys. All of them. Get KSI back out here. Get all of them. The other dude from Logan Paul's podcast, let's RKO this whole crew. Can we please?
Please. I'm with it.
I mean, I would like to have seen a singles match, Randy Orton versus Logan Paul. You want to know why? Because we have done nothing but shower Logan Paul with the highest possible praise you can give a wrestling rookie. We've said he's probably had one of the best rookie years of any wrestler. He probably literally is like the second best, third best rookie I've ever seen in wrestling. I mean, you've got like Kurt Angle, Steve Austin in '89 at the Sportatorium, and like Logan Paul.
That's probably fair. That's a fair list.
I mean, there's so few people that are better than Logan Paul at this stage, right? And going back even on his like first and second match. So that being said, dare I say Logan Paul is a bit of a prodigy, right? There is no bigger wrestling prodigy than Randy Orton, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Because when Randy Orton was stupidly young, he was probably the best wrestler in the world. Like the third day he ever wrestled. Like go back to when Randy Orton was like brand new in wrestling. You could not tell. He was like a prodigy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is wrestling's like biggest ever prodigy, Randy Orton. I mean, really, can you think of someone who had more potential than Randy Orton in wrestling from going back to the beginning of their career?
Hard to think about. No.
Yeah, he's that guy, right? And he's had this lengthy career, right? A legendary career. So it's like today's prodigy versus the prodigy of all prodigies. So really, it's like Randy Orton can be like putting Logan Paul through the paces here. So I think also just legitimately testing Logan Paul in the ring is good too, you know, because it's one thing to have a match with Roman Reigns where you just, you know, do your spots, take a Superman punch and a spear and get the fuck out. But it's like Randy Orton can say like, okay, this tutorial is going to go to hard mode now, you know?
Yes.
So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to is how does Logan Paul look in there against someone like Randy Orton who almost has no ceiling, right? Except than his fused neck and his back or whatever, you know.
And he also does not like when people mess up. So he's not going to be easy on Logan Paul.
That's exactly the moment that I want to see is you're fucking stupid.
I'm praying for that. Yes.
I think he's matured past that.
He probably did, yeah.
But the trolling, I'm fine with. Like, there's this Randy Orton trolling that I really hope we get.
I think we will.
And then you throw in Kevin Owens in there, and it just makes for a good time.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
So we're also getting a little grudge match here. LA Knight versus AJ Styles. LA Knight just needs to cook for a minute, okay? Just let him cook for a minute.
That's right.
We'll see. I feel like this one's kind of going to go under the radar a little bit.
It will, but at least he's on the card. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'll enjoy LA Knight talking shit about AJ Styles for a little while.
I mean, AJ Styles can get a decent WrestleMania match out of Shane McMahon. I think we'll have a fine match here. Yes. I think we'll have a fine Impact Wrestling, a battle of the Impact Wrestling guys here with AJ and...
Yeah, speaking of eras, Impact era champions.
So then we're getting a match that we've kind of known about for a while, but just last week became one of my must-see matches here. Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. What do you think was better? This is the hard question. I gave you the questions in advance for the show. I didn't give you this one. Whose promo was better, Jimmy's or Jay's?
Oh, man.
Because Jey Uso went out to the ring and made me want to see that match more than anything, right? Talking about, like, they've been in the main event together. Now it's going to be brother versus brother. And now Jey Uso is a single star on his own, right? So now it's like we've seen these guys tear it up as a tag team for a decade plus. One of, if not the greatest tag teams of all time. And now, I mean, they must be so excited, right, to finally get to work together like this.
Oh, yeah.
They've been wrestling together essentially for 10 years. And I don't know if they've never wrestled. I don't know if maybe they randomly wrestled one time. I don't think they have. But I'm excited for this. And then Jimmy Uso, this promo where he and the Wise Man are walking into the building on Friday night. And then he just looks into the camera and cuts the best promo of his career on SmackDown, Jimmy Uso.
Because he really cares. I mean,
this is like these guys' life's work here, right? These two guys.
Oh, man. I think the J one, I lean towards the J one as being better, but they're both great, and great job by both to make you want to see the match. Yeah. Awesome.
I love that Jimmy Uso promo, just going crazy-eyed looking into the camera. That was great.
And he plays that role very well, too. Just like Jay plays a main event Jay role very well.
I think both of these guys at this point have established themselves as, there was really a time where people didn't know which one was which. They talked about it, for a long time as well. They had the face paint, the same outfits. Even when they first started to separate, it's like there was that time. Obviously, I was not one of those people. But now it's like these guys are so different and so unique. I would never think that anybody would ever confuse them. They're like yin and yang now. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, these two guys are gonna like to me. I'm looking forward to this way more than I was looking forward to Jeff Hardy versus Matt Hardy at WrestleMania 25.
Oh yeah, no, that's unquestioned. Yeah, no way.
This is, and I know, like I said, The Rock is kind of gonna get all the spotlight. These guys are like pulling some of the spotlight back, I think.
Yeah.
So
pretty good. Yeah, that's a good point, man.
I'm excited for this one for sure. And I'll say this one probably goes down night 2.
I think so.
I just don't know what you would do with it on night 1. But, so then, that's really all we have as of this recording that's official. And we got 2 nights here of shows. I mean, granted, there's going to be 5 tag teams. That's 10 guys in this tag team match. So that's like half the mid-card, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe the Ascension will get in there. Are they still signed?
They're in the wasteland right now. I don't know if they can.
Well, maybe the Authors of Pain. Are they in one of the matches?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know the official one. That's true.
Speaking of Authors of Pain, I don't know what Karrion Kross. Do you think? Here's the serious question of the show. Do you think we'll see Karrion Kross on either one of these nights?
I mean, yes, I do.
I mean,
Bobby Lashley and Kross are going to be in a match somehow. Maybe not one-on-one, but they'll be there.
Yeah. So, people we don't have a match for, and the women's tag team, I feel like that just changed, right? Because Asuka might be injured now.
Yeah.
So, obviously it seems like they were going Bianca and Naomi versus the Kabuki Warriors, right? Bianca kind of saying she doesn't get why. She's kind of like exposing the business, saying she's supposed to be a good guy, but she doesn't like Bailey, who's also a good guy.
Yeah.
And then, so they were kind of, I feel like, tepidly building toward the Kabuki Warriors versus Bianca and Naomi. I'd much rather just see Bianca versus Naomi, to be honest. Or Bianca versus Kyrie?
Well,
come on.
Do it.
What is this? Is this WrestleMania or is this?
Yeah. Great balls of fire. Come on.
Yeah. So, nothing with Bianca is official, basically. And to me, she's like the top star right now in my mind that doesn't have a match booked.
Yeah.
In WWE. Because Charlotte is out. She's not wrestling, right? Sasha Banks has disappeared. We don't know where Sasha Banks is.
Somewhere with El Generico.
I don't know. Yeah. El Generico probably not going to be on the card.
No.
So, women's tag titles, we don't really know what's going on with that yet. Another person who's on the WWE roster, last time I checked, was Andrade. Right? Didn't he come back, or was that just in my mind?
He did, yes.
Okay, so where is El Idolo here? Who's he wrestling?
Good question.
You know, I wouldn't mind seeing Andrade versus Shinsuke Nakamura in a no story needed match.
Listen, I was gonna wait for you to say your thought and say, man, I want to see him against Nakamura. I don't need any build. The same exact thing.
Yeah.
Now they have to do it.
Because I don't necessarily notice anything going on with Shinsuke Nakamura right now.
No, and he's done some great work with people, right? So, just put him on. Just put him on the card.
And I would be sadly disappointed if we ended up with a Shinsuke Nakamura versus Karrion Kross match at WrestleMania.
Don't even put that out there. Okay.
Cut it.
I mean, I think that would be awesome. I think we're also going to get something with Santos Escobar. Maybe Santos and Rey Mysterio will finally get their match, or Santos and Carlito. They already fought, I know, but who knows? Something like that. They'll be on the card somewhere.
Well, so Bob Lashley, he's not on the card. You know who else is not on the card? Big Bob. You remember Big Bob? Big Bob!
I know Big Bill. I don't know.
You know Big Bill? You don't know Big Bob. I don't think Big Bob is going to come back to wrestling.
Probably not.
So we have the real Big Bob, Bobby Lashley. I mean, he's there. Why can't we? This is the thing. It's like when you give The Rock 45 minutes every show, it's like there's So we got Bob Lashley, Dominic Mysterio. No match for Dirty Dom. Do you think we're going to get the rematch here, Ray versus Dom?
No, probably not. But I mean, you got to have him you got to have Dom on the card.
I don't even remember who won last year. Was it Ray? He won, right?
Yeah, Ray won because I remember you were like, the father must beat the son, and
yes.
He did.
So we're gonna go over this again. I'm gonna book this again right now. Year 2, Dominic versus Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio wins. That's it. No reason. There's no reason for Dom to beat Rey Mysterio ever. Like, Sting's last match, he won in his last match. That's what Rey Mysterio needs to have happen.
Yes.
Like, how Ric Flair did that thing where when he was retiring at WrestleMania 24, it was every single match, if he loses, he has to retire.
Yes.
And then he finally got to HB Shizzle at WrestleMania 24. I'm sorry. I love you. Super kick. Good night. And then obviously he wrestled a bunch of more times. But still, this is what Rey Mysterio needs. But he just never loses. Right? It's like, if I lose, I'll retire. Fine. Okay, fine. So now you got to beat, Karrion Kross. Okay, fine. Then you got to beat, what's his name? I can't even think of his name now. You got to beat all these guys, and then you get to Dominic, and you just fucking beat him, and that's it. And then you still retire. That's fine. But none of this crap where you lose. These legends, Plus, I just actually think it's a good thing for Dom. Like, it's a good chip on his shoulder to have never beaten his dad. And then someone like The Rock, someone like whomever can come out and say you never can constantly pick on him for it. And then he'll never live it down.
Yeah. That's
and
good.
then that's it. That's the fucking story. You know who else doesn't have a match on WrestleMania? Why am I holding this? Solo Sikoa. What is Solo doing? The people are chanting his name during a Rock segment. What are we doing with Solo Sikoa?
It's a great point. He's probably just going to stand there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to have a match. Unless it's maybe like a John Cena. I don't think John Cena's available, but maybe you do John Cena, Solo Sikoa. That'd be good.
Mind that. Yeah.
I don't think anybody's coming back this year. I think The Rock is like the only... I mean, we're 19 days away at this point from WrestleMania. There's no Cena, Undertaker, thank God.
Yes, thank God.
Oh, maybe
right.
Solo should face The Undertaker.
I'm just going to not even... no.
Mean Mark, come back. Take on.
Oh, now? Okay, me and Mark Callis? Okay. No.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what any of these people are doing, but there's room for a few more additions to the Mania card here.
Well, all those... I mean, you'd think all of those wrestlers will be on the card, right? I think. But you're right, it's 19 days away. Are they going to just, like, makeshift together some stories? Or can we literally just be like, it's Nakamura versus Andrade because they get a WrestleMania bonus? I don't know how they're going to do it. But
I don't think they get a bonus anymore, but...
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
It's just their downside.
But, like, hey, they just wanted to wrestle and be on WrestleMania. I don't care. Say that. That's fine with me. Just get them on the card.
Yeah, so we'll see what matches get added to the Showcase of the Immortals, the 2-night Showcase of the Immortals. Going down in Philadelphia.
Whew.
Don't think we'll see any ECW alums there. I think they're all pretty busy. I think RVD, he's too busy enjoying his time in the AEW locker room.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll see the Sandman, Sabu, Tommy Dreamer. Pretty sure he's like the Impact World Champion. Just kidding. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're past the ECW days, but
way past it. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. But I don't know when Paul Heyman comes out, they'll probably give it one. Well,
there's a couple ECW originals still hanging around. There's Kofi Kingston.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean Sean Spears is back. Gavin Spears is back, right?
There we go. Give me Kofi versus Sean Spears in a ECW throwback match. It's just the Big Show. He's working in AEW now. Batista, he's not coming back.
I mean, Lashley was a great ECW champion.
So,
there you go.
You're fired from the booking committee.
Oh man, I just got the job.
So before we get out of here, I just want to list off some matches that I watched this week that I thought were good. Because, aside from The Rock cutting 20-minute Instagram promos, there's wrestling happening. So, Danielson versus Shibata on Collision was amazing.
Unbelievable.
Julia Hart versus Trish Adora, another good match on Collision. I watched Samoa Joe choke out Michael Wardlow on AEW Big Business. Jay White destroyed Darby Allin, broke his foot, preventing Darby from now climbing Mount Everest. So, thank you,
Jay White. Saved his life.
Thank you for that. Willow versus Rio from AEW Big Business. Willow winning that one with a Dr. Bomb. Another guy I don't think we'll see at WrestleMania this year, Dr. Death.
No, I don't think so.
Speaking of death, Pretty Deadly versus the new catch wrestling catch point British Bullet Club style of Gotch style wrestling. Is that their name?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Good name.
The new Catch Society X. Why did they give these guys the team name of the new catch point? Like, what? They already had a name. They were called British Strong Style.
That was a fine name. They should just kept that, yeah.
I don't need to know about their Society of Ordinary Gentlemen or whatever.
Yeah, just...
So Pretty Deadly. I watched them wrestle. I think those are HBK guys. And I think the new Catch Society is HHH guys.
Yes, those guys are definitely Triple H guys. Yeah, I don't know. Pretty Deadly was doing some fun stuff before Elton Prince got hurt. So
Yeah. More of an NXT act for me, I think.
all right.
So that's some wrestling that I watched a lot more than that, but that's what I wanted to say. I thought was pretty good. So, and then actually, before we get out of here, we have one last closing segment here, Chris. I wanted to get your thoughts on a very important story in the ring. Probably the biggest story inside the ring, which will be the Prime Energy logo on the ring mat going forward, starting at WrestleMania. What do you think of the Prime Energy logo on the mat?
I mean, this is like overall, generally, logos get onto things. Like, there's logos on basketball jerseys now. People pay for their ads. I get it. Generally, I understand it. But watching it, I feel like it's not real.
It sucks.
Like, every time I think of it, I'm like, this has got to be a fake thing, right? This is like a funny thing. Like, Logan Paul's an asshole. We all hate him. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is. And if it's going to be big and gaudy like it looks like it's going to be, that is ridiculous.
Yep, it's stupid. It's terrible. I knew this stuff was coming. I couldn't think of a worse first choice than Prime Energy or Prime whatever lemonade, whatever bullshit. I don't drink this stuff. But yeah, it looks terrible. I would almost rather 50 logos on the ring already than just the one, because now I'm just looking at Prime Energy and it's like terrible. Yeah, get somebody else in there. Like, remember we thought there was like the Cinnamon Toast Crunch guy. There was like the Mountain Dew Baja Blast match.
Yeah.
There was like all these times, the Slim Jim, whatever. It's all terrible, but this is a new level, because I saw people online posting up the Prime Energy logo, like photoshopped onto other moments from history.
Yes.
And it made me think, like, this is going to ruin WrestleMania. Like, anything that happens is going to now happen with this damn Prime logo involved.
There's no possible way that's going to be right in the middle of the ring, right?
I think
that can't be true.
We're watching Prime Omania in 19 days. I think it's going to be jarring to look at. And it's like, they got to make money. New Japan, they do logos all over the place, on the ring, on the ropes, on the turnbuckle pads or whatever. And the indie shows, they all do logos. I'm thinking I should get our new logo on some of these wrestling mats.
I think it's a good idea.
Let me see. Well, hang on, let me put it up here. No, I don't have our podcast logo. I only have the thumbnail. But yeah, not a fan. Couldn't think of a worse first sponsor other than maybe like Condom Depot or Dude Wipes or something like back in the UFC days. They'd have Dude Wipes all over the back of their shorts. But yeah, and just something else that gets under my skin is the fact that Logan Paul is making money off of this.
Yeah, it's bad enough. I mean, it's bad enough that we have to begrudgingly accept him as a good wrestler because he is. And we have to see him, and they're already paying him to be a wrestler, and now they're going to pay him for his stupid logo thing? Come on.
That about does it for this episode of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. Thank you for sticking with us to the end of the podcast. We appreciate you here, as always. Be kind, like, subscribe, and share. Follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, patreon.com/watchwrestling. We appreciate you here. On the post show this week, we are going to the Indie Net for a Matt Cardona match, some big rubber guys, and a robbery in Boston. Thank you for sticking with us, guys. Be kind, subscribe, watch wrestling with Mike Wellman. What does this button do? You know I got copyrighted for this song on YouTube?
Wow.
What's a baby face? He may need attention. What's a baby face? He may need attention. What's a baby face?
Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman.